And it's certainly crunch time here for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series as the round of 10 commences. The round of 15 over the last month has, of course, withdrawn 5 further drivers from the championship, and just 10 remain in the chase for the title. Of course, Jesper Eriksson is leading the way by quite some margin, but in behind, it is so close, and just a matter of a few positions here and there could definitely change the way that we go through the next round of 10. We start here at Richmond before going to Michigan in a couple of weeks, so just 2 rounds to find the final 5 drivers to go to the championship race at Phoenix in 1 month's time. It is going to be so much fun in these final 3 races of the season. It's myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast as we bring you through the Feather Online Gaming 222 here from Richmond Raceway. 184 laps coming your way here tonight around this very short and tricky circuit for the drivers to navigate at such an important time of the season. We've gone through the 14 race regular season before starting the round of 15 with Las Vegas, then to Dover. Ericsson won in Las Vegas and Michael Haflidsson won in Dover. But now, of course, things are reset once more in the round of 10. Win and you are in to the final 5. And for the likes of Marcus Hogman, Eric Blix, Jonas Gunnarsson, Daniel Solo and Cedric Holmbaum, they are just shy of the mark at the moment. Those 5, of course, being behind on the points, getting a win could be so crucial for them, at least having a chance at the playoffs. As of Dover, we lost Håkan Schott, Oliver Wallen, Peter Helmbro, Kenneth Tier and Edvin Forsland. Of course, the drivers just missing the cut, unfortunately, and as you see there, just by a couple of points here and there, it is certainly very close. But of course, as mentioned, Ericsson, he leads. He's 39 points above the cut line, so he's almost basically guaranteed in reality, as long as he doesn't have an absolute stinker over the next couple of races. Brewstrom is looking strong with Ayrton, Holmer and Fredriksson just above the cut line. And it's really getting to that crunch point of the season. The drivers are fighting hard out there on the track. The likes of Jesper Eriksson doesn't need the win, but as ever, he's going to be going for it.
He will. It doesn't matter particularly for playoff points either at this stage, but that is why he is 39 points above the cut line with 2 races still to go, a non-complete in the round of 10. It's because he's gone after the race wins all season. It's because he's gone after the stage wins as well. Even when 2 weeks ago at Dover, it was pretty much confirmed he'd be in this round. He was chasing after those points, and this is exactly why. Almost guaranteed his path into the final 5.
And I think, as ever, he's going to be going for that championship. But, of course, Michael Haflidsson is not here in this top 15. He didn't even make it into the round of 15, let alone the round of 10, after missing basically the first half of the season and then not being able to score enough points to get into the playoffs, despite obviously winning a race in the regular season. But he did win at Dover, and he's out to help his teammates. Blixt, Gunnarsson, Solo, they are all in the drop zone, missing the transfer spots as it stands, but they have 2 races to get one of their 3 drivers, or maybe all 3 of their drivers, into the top 5. Here's how we stand though. Blix is on the pole with Ayrton alongside him. Gunnarsson is 3rd, then Helmbro in 4th place, then of course Ericsson and Holmer, his teammate, on that 3rd row. So definitely a lot of a heavyweight up towards the front of this field. Solo and Haflidsson round out your top 8, with Brewstrom, Wallen, Leppit and Håkenschott rounding out your top 12. Holmbaum, Lundberg, Bratberg, Brostrom, Motin, Pfeffer inside your top 18. And then on actually what will end up being basically the final page, we've got Uvenen, Wallen, Kinnell, Hogman, Skoglund and Wildeber for what I believe is just 24 drivers here today. So, of course, as the season progresses and drivers get knocked out, those not in the playoffs do maybe miss a few races here and there, but still 24 drivers. And what actually that means, Ewan, is even if you have a bit of a bad race, you're still going to get, as a minimum, 24 points for 24th place. So that's actually a bit of a good thing for those going for the championship.
It is, and That's why I was thinking about this race earlier on. The main objective I would have is stay out of trouble here today. Make sure you're in it in 2 weeks' time, because if you have a real bad race, especially tonight, then you're just not going to be able to gain the points required to get yourself back into the fray. Think about if you're Cedric Holmbaum here, already 11 points below the cut lines we've already seen. If he drops 20 points, let's say Fredriksson finishes second or something, that's a loss of 23 points. Suddenly he's like 34 points behind Fredriksson and others with only one race to go. And if there's less than 30 at the next race, for example, he's just not going to be able to mathematically gain those points back, and he's going to be in a win or bust situation. So stay in the game here today, finish on the lead lap, get a decent finish, but definitely don't crash and end your playoffs with still a week of the round of 10 still to go.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be a tough race, though, with being so short. There was only 7 drivers on the lead lap last year. This race was won by Michael Havlidsson, with Bohlin and Aracingligan rounding out the podium. Gunnarsson, Broström, Helmbro, Solo, all the drivers in behind in last season's result, and all the drivers up towards the front again in the qualifying here today, apart from Oliver Bohlin, who's a little bit further down in qualifying than he probably would have wanted, down in 20th place, but definitely interesting to see similar drivers up there towards the front. It is going to be frantic action. 184 laps, the Feather Online Gaming 222, the start of the round of 10. We've got Blixt, Aracingligan on the front row, and especially for Blixt, he needs to get himself above the cut line, and what a win would do for him here today. That would certainly help his chances. Peter Helmbro is there as well. He just missed the cut by 4 points to get into the round of 10, but he's having a quiet but a very good season as he works his way towards the front once more. He's had a few standout moments in the qualifying sessions over the last couple of seasons, and here's another one in that 77 machine, second on that outside line. And of course, we have Gunnarsson in the number 33 down on that inside on the second row. He's been a bit unlucky this season. He certainly could have had a couple more race wins and a couple more podiums to his name, but a few incidents here and there, running out of fuel as well. Not the ideal situation, but Alcantech looking strong to try and work together 2 cars on the front couple of rows. The pace truck comes in and we go towards the restart zone to start the round of 10 here for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. We get underway with the 95 on that inside line. Already some moves being made. I think it's Havlidsson from the third row trying to make almost 4 wide as we come into the first corner. Ericsson's already through up into second place. Gunnarsson will follow him in third. Aricsson's been shuffled back already to about 5th place as he work away down the back straight.
Oh, and very nearly was hit there as well. He was hit maybe by the 77 car that's just not quite avoided by Holmbaum, I think, who collects him. Second shot there in the 101 collects as well. And for the second round in a row, we're under caution after the opening lap. Or the opening laps, I should say.
And that was just an awkward slide there from Helmbro that he wasn't able to save, as you say, some contact with Aracingligan coming down the back straight in towards 3 and already under caution. Big moves being made though in turns 1 and 2. Already Ericsson looking very racy. Aracingligan being shuffled back. Havlidsson trying to make it 4 wide. Yeah, it was just a bit of a bump on the back from the 77 and not able to slow the car down in time. I wonder if there was just a little bit of misjudgment, if that was just a little bit unlucky. Yeah, just braking too late. There were 3 cars around him and he broke the latest of all 3 of them. So maybe just slightly too late. Unfortunately, the 10, the 101, not able to avoid that. That's quite important for the 10 as well. That is Holmbaum. He is the driver who's 11 points below the cut line in 10th place as it stands and is being shuffled back a little bit further maybe.
Yeah. That is not at least going to not shuffle him back right now, but it will perhaps give him damage that he'll have to repair. Clearly deciding that repairing it right now is not necessarily what he wants to do. Peter Helmbro is the only driver in under this opening caution of the day. Nobody will be thinking about tyres at this stage. You'll say that save them for later, but you will be thinking about damage if you got caught up there. Interesting that neither Schott or Helmbom decided to come in. So at the end of, or maybe now they will actually. Yeah, Holmbaum is in. Apologies, I didn't realise pit lane hadn't opened yet. So Holmbaum is in now, and he's going to have a lap or so to try and do whatever repairs he can to that car in a short amount of time. Helmbro goes 1 lap down.
Yeah, the issue is with it only being a 0.75 miler, you can very easily go a lap down. and you don't really want to be in that situation. So if you can avoid it, then maybe you will. Although having said that, Holmbom has come down pit road this time around, so that is not ideal. He and Helmbro will be a lap down when we get towards the restart. And I wonder just how many cautions we are going to have today. Looking back at last year, it says we only had a one caution, which is quite interesting if that is the case. And the race was just about the same amount of laps as well. So it can be a clean race around here. We're going to have to see if that is able to be done, because you know, we've seen a few times this season, we get early cautions, then it often calms down. We have a long period in the middle of the race.
It is true, but it's worth noting that the last round did have the most cautions we've seen since early January. So I do wonder at the end of this season and some of the short tracks in the playoffs whether we are starting to see a few more cautions. Everyone gets a bit more nervous. Never really got going at Dover, to be honest. 63 laps was the longest we ever had. That's only just over 100 kilometres, so that's one of the very shortest, longest runs we've had, if that makes any sense still. I wonder whether that is a pattern going to be repeated, whether it is going to be a stop-start sort of evening.
It might well be, but we come back to the restart. Blixt and Ericsson on that front row, and Blixt goes early. He gets the jump as the Feather Online Gaming 222 gets underway for the second time of our scheme. We're already having a big look to the inside from Linus Broström on the third row there, trying to make his way down the inside, backing out of that one and actually losing some momentum with, I think it's Solo on his outside. He will come down the back straight away for the lead. Ericsson is going to go. Look at that. Blixt gets shuffled back into second place, and the 37 romps off into the distance.
What do you do about Jesper Ericsson at the moment? He has been by far and away the best driver this season, but he has got to win the title at Phoenix. That's what he'll be thinking about. He's got to make it there as well. With a comfortable evening tonight, he should manage that, whether he wins or not. There's all sorts going on in the background. Not sure why everybody was slowing down off of 2 there, but it looks like everybody has kept themselves on the circuit and pointing the right direction, at least. We will see as they come over the line once again and start to now get a bit more single file.
Okay, so this is Moten in the 94. Goes for a save. Oh, big save. He managed to keep it going in a straight line. Unfortunately, Helmbro wasn't able to do so, but the 94 of Moten was, and we stay green flag. Therefore, Cedric Holmbom is still down pit lane. Apparently, that is not going to be good for his championship chances. That might already see him out of contention completely to be inside that final 5. There's a 72 of Oliver Wallen, who did miss out on the playoffs. He's up the inside of Joe Wallen and not able to Wallen able to hold on to that battle, because now Uvenen is coming down the inside in the 84 too.
Yeah, he's through on the inside. Uvenen, one of those drivers who only just missed out on the playoffs themselves on the final day at Daytona. He's now moving up, looking at the top 10 maybe in this race. Anton Bratberg currently holds the final spot inside that top 10 just for the moment, as another look to the inside from Wallen on Uvenen. Still not quite done yet, and Hakan Schott being in the way now in the 101 is helping Joe Wallen on the inside line.
Certainly is. You can definitely go side by side here, but it is going to be a little bit tricky with just how short it is. And it is now going to be the 101 around the outside. Can he make this stick? He's going to have to sit there for a long, long time. The inside line seems to be pretty good, though. Wallen was able to dive down the inside one lap ago, and now Uvenen is going to be able to do the same. Side by side across the line. Oh, bit of door banging as he come in towards turn number 1. It looks like the 101 losing those 2 places.
Yeah, you've got to be careful there when you're trying to slip down the inside, or through the middle rather, of a 3-wide moment. You just know here at Richmond it is always going to narrow up like that, and especially on the front straight, it isn't even straight. So you've got to be really careful of that, and backing out in the end was the right thing for Hakan Schott to do, and he slots back in this line, just in behind Wallen and Uvenen, back in 14th place. So it's really starting to settle in now a little bit more, but look at the gap stretching out already here after only technically 7 laps really, because we lost the first 5 laps from cautions. It is really stretched out already. It's a difficult circuit, and so the lapping won't be that far away, in fact.
Oh, it certainly won't. We're looking at lap times of about 22 seconds. We're told there's a drop-off by 1 second over the first 30 laps or so. So already we will be getting a few tenths slower than the fastest times possible. And it seems like with the amount of obviously cornering that you do here, with the straights being so short, you get into the corners so much more often. And therefore, as we've seen with this Xfinity car this season, the tyres will drop quite a bit of lap time. And therefore, even though we're expecting fuel to go well past half distance today, we might be seeing some pit stops slightly earlier to get on some fresher tyres and try and make an undercut work. But of course, it all depends when a caution comes out. Side by side we go through the final corner of Wildebar P17 with Oscar Motin trying to make that P16 for the 3-2-1 machine up the inside. It's going to be. Does seem like the battles can go on for quite a while here.
It does, yeah. It's one of those circuits where, despite being quite a short track, the banking is very steep. It's somewhat like Dover in that respect, although it is a lot more slow speed. You can make the outside work quite well here, and so battles do go on for a little while. Now, though, Wildebar does go through on the inside line, not with a comfortable amount of room to spare, but he does go through nevertheless on the inside.
Yeah, definitely some paint left on the wall there. And once again, off two. So the 94 leaving his mark on this circuit as we are well into the playoffs. Leppit here in the number 50 machine for AK Heroes. Got to the 72 of Bohlin, who's making some good moves. He started down about P20. He's up inside the top 10 already. That's 9th position for the 72. And his teammate Aracingligan now down the inside of Dan Soller. He's been working his way forward. He got past the one of Haflidsson and now is trying to do a double Alcantech overtake across the line. He's going to come in towards turn 1, and the 24 is going to have to hold it down against the apron to try and make this work. It does seem like the inside line is slightly superior at this track, and you'll of course continue having to just brake as late as possible, try and get inch by inch further ahead as they go through the corners.
Yeah, it's a circuit that's really won and lost on the brakes in terms of lap times. Really got to be very nailed on your braking points here, and trail braking as well effectively through in towards turn 1, because you're coming off that curve on the front stretch. In towards turn 1 though, Alexander Olsen does get through, and Daniel Solo demoted to 5th place. As you mentioned at the start of the day, Solo is below the cut line, but only by 4 points. Jonas Gunnarsson, who's up in 3rd place right now, is also on 3 points behind right now. So good starts for those two up inside the top 5.
Indeed, this is working out to be the heavy hitters towards the front of the race. Top 5 all playoff drivers, a couple of others with Broström and Holmer inside the top 10 as well, as the cream rises to the top at the important point of the season. They definitely know that this is where they need to score the points, and they know that this is their time. It's really a little bit of a top 3 breakaway. Then Aracingligan, who's just obviously made those overtakes on his own a little bit, but I think he will chase him down and make this a front 4 at the beginning of the field. But the top 3 certainly showing their pace at this moment in time. Blix not letting Ericsson get away though, like I first thought he might.
Yeah, it looked good initially actually for Ericsson. But so far, yeah, Blix has done a good job to stay with him. It's going to be a real test, though, over the course of a long run here to see what actually happens. You mentioned the tyre drop-off earlier on, but the fuel goes so long round here. The manoeuvrability for strategy here is quite profound, actually. You can do quite a lot. So are we going to see drivers coming in after 60 laps or so to try and split this one into thirds, maybe, if it goes green all the way to lap 60 or lap 65? Or are we going to see everybody going past the stage at 85 before we see pit stops? It kind of depends what your situation is with points. Maybe someone like Jesper Ericsson might not bother with the stage points, but pretty much everybody else in the playoffs does have to. And Michael Fridderson maybe is a real wild card. Maybe he can do something weird because he's not got the constraints of being a playoff driver.
Indeed, gives him a little bit more flexibility to be aggressive. I would say a little bit less to lose in that regard. But of course, also has some teammates that could be in use of his track position at some point of the race. But it definitely seems like the drivers are settling into a longer green flag run, which is what we do like to see, because as much as the cautions bring everyone back together, the long green flag runs is where the strategies come out and where the team play can really be a big effect when we get to that last 50 laps or so of the day. And I especially would assume that Haflidsson here is going to stay on the back of the 4 Alcantec cars. Unless there's anything major required at the front, he's probably going to sit behind whoever's last in that train. Of course, Blix and Gunnarsson up there in second and third, and Solo being the third of the 3 drivers in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it depends a little bit on the race situation, because right now Solo is holding up the others quite profoundly. But if you remember 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago, or was it a previous racing before that? Solo looked useless early on, but then we suddenly realised, maybe it was Darlington, can't remember, but suddenly he turned it on. We realised that he'd been saving tyres through the first part of the race. So if he is doing that again, I don't see anything wrong with Verstappen overtaking his teammate here and just letting Solo get on with it. But it very much looks, it feels very similar to that race a few weeks ago. Can't remember which one it was, but Solo not taking off very quickly at all compared to those around him.
That is a good point, but what it's doing is it's creating a little bit of a backlog behind. There's a 6-car train. We've got Broström and Holmer obviously sitting in there behind. Bohlin is getting a bit tasty with Leppit in there as well, which, by the way, Leppit and the AK Hero team, what a addition to the championship they have been. They came in after the first few races, him and Dylan Platt, his teammate, and Dylan especially, maybe the slightly faster of the 2 drivers, but Leppit is the one here up in the top 10 at this moment in time, and definitely a welcome introduction into the league this season, looking very strong. Trying to look at everyone using completely different lines, slightly going higher, slightly going lower, later, or earlier apex, trying to find a different way to get past the team and the drivers ahead.
Yeah, race is a bit like a road course, this oval, in that sense, taking different lines on the way in, the real emphasis on braking performance round here and getting that right. Yeah, have a look at that. It's a great view, actually, of what the others are doing here. Going for Bohlin with the late apex, if you like, what we'd call in a road course, of course, a late apex maybe, for better runs onto the straight. It's all well and good, but if Leppit decides he wants to go through, then it's got a gap there created through the middle of each turn every time without fail. So there's a good chance for him to go down the inside. Now he's trying to enter a bit higher, maybe go for a later apex himself. It is very interesting, and it's like like watching them go around a hairpin bend in a road course again and again and again.
Absolutely, and they are getting close. So the 200 of Pfeffer, who's the last driver on the lead lap, is now 17 seconds off the lead. With a 22-second gap, that means very shortly they are going to be getting there. They're only about half a second a lap slower, but that does mean in the next 10 laps or so they probably will be on the back of this 200, which will then be a very interesting situation when you get lapped cars going and getting involved with the race leaders. Or the leaders seem to be pretty stable at this moment in time, to be honest. They've been there for a good 20 laps now without change, but you never know if an opportunity with a lapped car in front of them comes up and a door opens up the inside. You know, in the playoffs, these drivers are going to be sending it down the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen too much so far in the playoffs of traffic playing a real role, although we did get some very long runs at Las Vegas. It's not one of those circuits that you particularly worry about for traffic. At Dover, not many green flag runs either, long enough for traffic to be a huge factor, although it did start to become that towards the end of the day. If it's a long green flag run to open the race here at Richmond, it could be quite a difficult race with traffic, bearing in mind that already over 30 laps complete in this green flag run. So getting off to a pretty good start here after the early bump in the road, which is what we've normally seen, unfortunately, this season. Some very early cautions. This time around, it's being followed by a very long green flag run. In fact, that has happened at least the last 2 rounds in a row. Vegas, we had over 100 laps in the second run. Dover, we had nearly 50, which is quite long for that day. So it's happening again here. A similar pattern to the playoffs being continued here at Richmond.
And whilst it's stable inside the top 10, it is moving a little bit further down. So Skoglund's made some moves. So he overtook Broström, Bjorn Broström, that is, not so long ago. But now Bjorn is now dropped behind Hogman as well, and Skoglund's now got past Motin. So down towards the back end of the top 20, there is a bit of a swap around going on, and definitely some drivers fighting for those crucial points, because of course the sort of standings as such is still going, and they are still fighting for some points in that regard. And as ever, you want to get past any race car that you see in front of you. So we had a little bit of an onboard there from Brostrom as he's getting closer and closer to these Alcantech cars, trying a bit of the up and under, trying actually to make a move now on the one in towards turn 3. How much is Havlicton going to fight this? He's easily up the inside in the 71 Morbi Bright Esports machine, and now the Alcantech car goes to the outside of 4. And it looks like it is going to be a side-by-side run down in towards the first corner. And Brostrom is going to slowly work his way up the inside. Havlicton is actually not defending this as quite as hard as I was expecting. He's not being overly aggressive in his defence.
Well, he doesn't need to. If Solo's going to park it on the apex in the middle of the corners on the inside line, that's not going to help Brostrom go anywhere. It's going to keep these two just going nowhere, really. And that really works for Alcantech. If they can keep Brostrom behind, then they can also, by way of just getting in the way, they can keep Daniel Holmer there as well. In fact, they can limit those up front to just 5 in front of them, or 4 in front of them rather, because Solo is in that 5th position right now. So this battle doesn't hurt them too much right now, as long as Havlicton stays there, but he can't. Brostrom now finally, after a few laps, does get through.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you get a couple of inches every lap as, that is getting tight as Havlicton sends it back down the inside in retaliation. But you get a few inches every lap, so you have to just keep going. It might take 5 laps to get your overtake. But on the exit 2, he does... Oh, no! It's the back of Brostrom. He broke way too late. Brostrom's up into the wall. Can he continue on? It looks like he's going to try, but there's definitely going to be some steering damage, and that might be the 71 out of contention in this race. Let's see how much that damage is. He's going really slowly, has not got back up to racing speed. Of course, he's now into turn 1, so he isn't going to be able to get back to the pit lane for some time.
He's got real front right damage there, so he's got to wait for a gap in the road, and now he'll move across to come into pit lane as Wallen and Wilderberg go past. He'll come back up the racetrack here. Got to be careful. He does slow down just enough, but well, I think that will look a bit sinister to some. Michael Ferguson there getting straight into the back of Linus Brostrom, one of their closest and most feared championship rivals here this season. Brostrom second place in the Drivers' Championship, and Havlicton, as a non-playoff driver, has got to be taking more care than that, really. He's just run him straight over there, and I'd say he's got to be taking way more care than that. That was really, really careless driving.
Yeah, I agree on that. He wasn't being, I mentioned he wasn't being overly aggressive in his defence, but then once he was behind and then he was the attacker, he went straight for it, first in turn 1 and then of course making that contact. I mean, the 71 defended that place. He had it back. He was completely ahead in that position, and then coming into turn 3, unfortunately 71 slightly misjudging the overlap, and that put the 71 into the wall. This is definitely a day that Brostrom now just needs to try and get to the end, but the points, they are so close. This might end up actually being quite tight for him. You know, he's 11 points above the cut line, but Holmbom is 11 points below. That only leaves 22. So yes, it's going to be an interesting one with how this one works out over the points totals, as we are lap 48, so we're halfway through the stage, which will come at 85.
I've just worked something out, by the way. Obviously eradicating the stage points. The maximum Brostrom could be behind at the end of the day is only 9 points, so it's not going to be a disaster even if he finishes last and the others finish exactly where they sort of should. To sort of maximise the deficit that Brostrom would have, they would need to finish in a strange order, and it would come out at about 9 points. So that's not a disaster, and that's why I mentioned at the start of the day, just don't do anything stupid. Stay on the lead lap and get into the next race in a decent position. The problem for Linus Brostrom, I bet he'll be thinking at the moment, is, well, I didn't do anything stupid there, and it still turned out pretty badly for me. Got run over by someone else's teammate, so it was set out with the best of intentions there, Linus Brostrom, but unfortunately you can't account for everything. You can't foresee everything either, and well, a bit of careless driving from somebody else, and suddenly his whole championship, his whole season is in doubt.
Yeah, that's how the playoff format works as well. We have all these races, but it could come down to just one specific race that changes your path. Whether that is a driver who's not really on pace, able to win the championship, but if he's able to sneak a win here and there, maybe a lucky caution or something like that, that can of course change quite a bit. And as you say, for Linus, you could say maybe it wasn't the time of the stint to try and make an overtake, but you can't really victim blame like that. He was there, he made the overtake, he got it done, and as you say, it was just a mistake from someone else. It was such a big reaction from the car as well into the wall. Like, it wasn't the biggest hit of the wall in the end, but it was just at the worst angle that broke that front right suspension, which is such a shame. He's going to be multiple laps down, and he just needs to circulate basically and hope that he gets a few more positions with some other people's woes later in the race.
Yeah, as Cedric Holmbaum is doing, by the way. We haven't spoken about him for a while, but he is 24th, 13 laps down, he is still going. So Cedric Holmbaum doing exactly that down at the back end of the field. Unfortunately, I think for him, the championship battle is getting a little bit more difficult. He is going to be in an almost must-win situation coming up next time out. A second shot there is riding around the bottom of the circuit. For some reason, he's on the apron, and he's gone a lap down now, but he's gone well more than that. I'm not sure why he is going so slowly there on the inside line.
Yeah, that's certainly that's certainly an interesting one. Hopefully everything is all okay, but you never know as we continue to watch the fight at the front. That's turned into a two-way battle. Gunnarsson not quite able to hold on. He's dropped off by a whole second. Of course, you're into that point of the stint where the tyres are wearing, and those who've held on to tyres that little bit better are certainly going to be ahead of those who unfortunately push their tyres a little bit too much in the opening part of the race. So this is certainly seeing that it is a bit of a show between Ericsson and Blixt, who then actually, in terms of last laps, is basically doing the same as everyone inside the top 7, but I guess it's just the consistency as well.
Yeah, they have been consistently the fastest drivers so far today, making me wonder a little bit whether they're going to split this race into thirds right now as well, because we're approaching 1/3 distance already here this afternoon, and we're already 1.2 seconds off the pace of fastest laps. There's maybe a little bit slower degradation than what we were expecting to see actually at this stage in the race, considering we've done, let's call it 55 laps, because of the caution laps, they're not really counting. So after that amount of time, I think you would have expected to see a second and a half maybe, but we're not quite there yet. And well, you can maybe delve into the reasons why for that a bit later on, but maybe that does mean these guys will be going to the stage, and then they will be coming into the pit lane. Stage, meanwhile, only 25 laps away from being crossed, so we are rattling off the laps here very quickly here in a long second green flag run.
Yeah, when you get into a longer run, the laps do go quickly, because we're basically doing 3 laps per minute at this point, so it will be very fast by the time we get to that stage. I mean, obviously you're starting to talk about the strategy. I'm very interested, as you say, if we are going to see someone stretch it out, because the longer you go, the fresher tyres you'll have at the end. But it all depends if and when we get a caution. And depending on when that is and when you've made your pit stop could be so crucial, as Bohlin is going down the pit lane. So he is trying that 2-stop strategy, or at least coming in very early. And that is putting Leppit up into P8, Uven up into P9. But Bohlin is the one towards the front to really make that gamble.
Exactly the kind of driver you'd expect to see it from as well. A previous playoff driver who was denied the next stage of the competition by only a few points 2 weeks ago. He will have been very disappointed with that as well, because he had a very good season up until the playoffs began. But he is exactly the kind of candidate you would expect to see coming in a bit early. Now, the problems are going to be immediate, really. He's going to be 2 laps down to begin with, because it is quite a long pit lane, as they all are on ovals. And he is, well, maybe he's just going to sneak out of the back end of the 1 lap down. Looks like he has, actually. So anyway, he's way off the lead lap, and well, he better hope there's not a caution in the next few moments. And the advantage for him is not as big at this stage in the race as we were quite expecting.
Yes, but he does have at least for the first 10 laps or so, he's probably going to have a second a lap, definitely. So we're going to see this come down very, very quickly indeed. But of course, it's going to take him a long time to get that track position back if the drivers stay out and basically wait until a caution or they run out of fuel, because potentially we could go for another 50 laps here in terms of fuel. So it's going to be quite interesting, actually. I'm very excited that someone is trying that, potentially, you know, a two-stop strategy on pure tires, which is always a good one, because remember, there are 4 sets of tires, so that still leaves him with an extra set if there's a really late caution.
Yeah, it's also true, by the way, that I'm sort of calibrating 1 second to the other ovals we've seen. Actually, 1 second round here per lap is actually quite a lot. If you think about, these guys might stay out another 20 laps, even if you're going to maybe expect 3/4 of a second over that time period. That's 13.5 seconds or so, 12.5 seconds, whatever that is, somewhere around there. That is a lot of time, and that could see Bohlin in the lead initially when the likes of Eracingligan and Blick come in. But never mind, he's got a caution, and that is terrible news for Oliver Bohlin.
Yes, that is terrible. So he's going to be a lap down. It's Bradberg, the 111 machine. Let's see what is going to happen to him. That's a weird line. He's taken a very weird entry line into that corner, and the back end just came around on him. He was very, very high. I didn't quite see behind if he was trying to let through a driver, but certainly, at least from what I think, a bit of a weird one. But therefore, it is going to be pit stop time. You would expect from everyone towards the front. They committed very early. We saw some late moves in some previous races where they literally almost missed the pit lane. But today, everyone confirming their way down pit road here on lap 67.
Yeah, luckily for Bohlin, he's going to be left just the 1 lap down, and so he will get back to the lead lap again, but he will be at the back end of the field with some slightly older tyres than absolutely everybody else. Oh, Ericsson misses his box. What a disaster for him. A very rare mistake from Jesper Ericsson, and surely the 95 of Eric Blix is going to be absolute favourite to get out of pit lane first here, unless there's somebody going for 2 tyres, which will be ludicrous. Up on the left sides they go. And Ericsson will get going first. And no, excuse me, it'll be Gunnarsson. So Gunnarsson jumps Blix normally. Ericsson loses out to both of them because he had a bad stop.
Oh, that is quite important for the track position. We saw them being very stable in terms of track position, but now, as you say, the Alcantech cars are heading to the front. So it was Gunnarsson leading. They have swapped around momentarily with Blix back in the lead, but as I saw, it looked like it was Gunnarsson at least leading off pit road, but maybe he just with the camera, maybe it was actually Blix who just got to the line first.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to do a bit of a race off pit road camera, but it looks like Blix might have just edged it. But the fact that it was so close is a testament to how Gunnarsson was able to do his stop, because on a normal day you would expect those in front to pretty easily get out in front as well. In iRacing, there isn't that deviation in terms of pit lane time that you might see in real life, although that's slightly diminished with the one wheel nut these days. It is pretty difficult actually to make places in the pit lane these days, and Gunnarsson got a lot closer than he should have done to overtaking his teammate there.
Yeah, hitting your marks is so crucial, and if you think about it, he's lost 2 positions. Think about in a race how difficult it is to gain those 2 positions by making the overtakes. It's actually a really important factor where just that little half a second blip can really cost you potentially. Of course, it's so early in the race that he has time to get back. It's not like we're coming down to a green-white checker and he has to go absolutely for it. And in some ways, maybe being on that inside might actually help him when we come back to the restart. That is going to be very interesting indeed. So it's the Feather Online Gaming 222. We've had a second caution of the day with the 111 of Bradberg spinning around. Just a calm spin, but has caused a caution. All the drivers at the front have come down and made their first pit stop of the day, and now the 95 of Eric Blix gets us underway with his teammate Gunnarsson on the outside line, but the 37 Ericsson has actually made himself back up into second place already. That inside line potentially preferring him, even though he made the issue with the pit stop, is actually gained him on this restart. Solo is coming through into that 4th position as well, so Alcantech looking very, very nice at this moment in time. The 24 of Audson trying to hold it on the outside, but I think the 13 should have that.
Looks like it. Let's see on the way towards turn one and what Solo's going to do afterwards as well, because his first stint in the race was a pretty calm one. He didn't really do too much there, to be honest. Oh, spin in the background, meanwhile, for Lundberg off of turn two, and that's Skoglund coming into pit lane. Don't know what he's doing, but Eric Lundberg spins around off of turn two.
Yeah, that's not a good moment for that team. As you said, Skoglund down pit road when we've gone back to green flag racing. Lundberg in the 18 has gone for a spin. Was there contact with Bohlin in behind? He's all good, he's all good, he's all good. Just spins up the rears ever so slightly on the exit of the corner. No contact being made from what I can see, so just a driver error trying to push the rears. Potentially the tyre's not quite up to temperature, and unfortunately that brings us out to a third caution of the day.
It certainly does. Two solo spins in a row. Something I didn't say, by the way, that I meant to about Anton Brackberg's spin to bring out the second caution was the fact that he was fresh out the pit lane. Not sure whether that was his first corner at full speed or whether that was his first flying lap, but he was pretty fresh out the pit lane. So the fact he was spinning round in the way that he was a bit weird. It does help, though, this caution, those who didn't pit under the last one and had to get the wave around back onto the lead lap. It's pretty much perfect news for them, actually. And so we can have a lot more drivers on the lead lap now, perhaps, than maybe we could have done otherwise. Still seeing, though, a relatively high amount of drivers off the lead lap further down the back end of the field. I'm seeing only 15 left as we approach half distance, and a real dash for those stage points for the second week in a row.
Yeah, so the likes of Oliver Bohlin, of course, as you mentioned, got back onto the lead lap. The issue is that he's now at the back of the train when he was up inside the top 10, and he's on 7 lap older tyres. And from what we've seen, the tyre wear is quite important around here. So he basically didn't get any gain. However, if the race went green for a long time, maybe there would have been a gain there, but that is the risk that you have to take. And unfortunately, the caution came out at the wrong time for his strategy. Everyone else gaining some net positions from that. Lap 75 of 184. The stage, remember, is on lap 85. So we only have 10 laps to go in the stage. And that, of course, is an important one to get a couple of, extra points here and there. And that could be so crucial when we get to the end of the round of 10. The 95 on the inside line, and Ericsson on the outside line, who slows down massively. I'm not sure what that was all about. They're making some contact.
I've no idea what that was all about. There's an extra caution lap, excuse me, an extra caution lap round here, by the way. And we're doing 5 laps under caution here for the first time I can remember any track for a while. I don't even think we even did that in New Hampshire. I can't remember. But it's 1 extra lap, and it might be throwing a few people off, because when you're pitting or whatever, it doesn't really factor in your brain. You're concentrating on that. But when you're just driving around behind the pace car, you do notice the extra lap because they are, 45 seconds or 50 seconds long or so. It's a good 4.5 minutes under caution each time.
Yeah, certainly that kind of threw me off as well. I thought we were going back because I didn't quite see the lights. But let's see if we can do it for another time of asking. The Feather Online Gaming 222. Blix on the inside, Ericsson on the outside as he comes back to green flag racing once more. And it's a really good start from the 95. Gets a car length jump even on his teammate in behind the 33 of Gunnarsson. Side by side we go into the first couple of corners. We remain 2 by 2 through the second and third rows, and down this back straightaway. Can Gunnarsson do anything to try and get up into that second place with Ericsson alongside him? Ericsson also sending it down the inside, but that's going to be tough with the 2 Alcantech cars on his shoulder.
Oh, and a bit of a slide as well from Gunnarsson as he comes off turn 4. Gathers it up in time. Surely that means, though, that Ericsson's going to go around the outside and through here into second place, and actually maybe through to first. Blix there probably should have taken the racing line there without interruption from Ericsson, but no, he decides to take the racing line here. And this is less about Ericsson trying to get the stage points for himself, because unlike before, there's no playoff points to carry into the final round anymore. It's all about where you're going to be in terms of this round and points. Doesn't matter for him particularly, but he can deny some of his main rivals. Blix is below the cut line at the moment, and if he can stop him from getting to the round of 5, it will make his final day a lot easier.
That's true. Blix, of course, has been chasing and chasing throughout the season, having missed the first half, but he managed to get enough points. He got that win to lock himself into the playoffs, and now he's trying to lock himself into the final 5 with another victory as he sits below the cut line as it stands. Eracingligan, though, around the outside. It's been 4 or 5 laps, and he's really trying, but Blix is doing his best to hold on. The inside line's been pretty good so far, actually. He's probably been king on most of the overtakes, but Eracingligan is pushing strong as he hit lap 81 with 5 remaining in the stage.
This is pretty close between these two. We mentioned the length of the battles that you can have around this circuit, and it's been proved again here. And finally, it looked like Eracingligan was going to get through. Blix is still just about there. Can't quite clear him yet, Eracingligan. Now he's going to try and turn below him. Just cut off his line on the exit, and Eracingligan is going to take the lead. 4 to go until the stage, and he's finally out front without Eric Blix alongside him.
And how much has he pushed that front right tyre, though, on that outside line to go faster? One of the fewer outside overtakes we've seen so far tonight. And I guess he was just caring about the track position and leading the way as we're going to come on to lap 83. So 3 remaining in the stage here, and just coming up to about 100 laps remaining in the race as well. We've got 2 Alcantech cars chasing down Eracingligan for the win in the stage. Eracingligan has confirmed himself in that 4th place as well. So Solo once again not being overly aggressive at this point. So he's definitely on a bit of the saving mode, not going for that stage win or anything to do anything crazy. He's thinking the long game with the 100 laps remaining.
2 to go, including this one now, as lap 85 looms, and 100 to go at the end of this one. Into the final couple of corners. Eracingligan looking comfortable here. As we've said before, it takes a long time to actually pass somebody. So, given we're going to the final lap now, it is going to be Eracingligan's to lose here and the opening stage of the round of 10.
Yeah, lap 85. It is stage time, and it looks like it is going to be Jesper Eracingligan. Eric Blix not able to close down enough in the final couple of corners, so the 37 is going to take yet another stage victory this season as the Feather Online Gaming 222 stage winner is going to be the 37 of Jesper Eracingligan. But of course, we continue on green flag racing, and now it is a race to the end, just shy of 100 laps to find the winner.
And we've got 6 of our playoff drivers immediately in the top 10, and there you go. So it was all a bit of a front, to be honest. Eracingligan was not actually wanting to go that quickly. He just wanted to take some points off of Blix. He's taken 1 point away. Blix won't appreciate that particularly, but given the fact he's only 3 points behind Fredriksson going into that part of the season, he'll already be ahead of him. He'll be ahead of Holmer as well, because he just gained another 6 points on him. And Aronson will be pretty close as well, although Aronson did quite well as well, so he'll be okay. He'll be ahead of Broström now, so Blix will be inside the top 5 already because of that 2nd place, but it's just a bit of an annoyance, to be honest, that Eracingligan stayed in front of him for the stage.
I mean, if you're quicker, you're quicker. And Eracingligan certainly was on that restart, and he did everything he could to make sure he won that stage. And now everything calms down, and they play the long game. They've already been on these tyres 20 laps. Of course, they had a couple of cautions in that time, so they will certainly be maybe towards 15 or maybe even less, maybe about 12 laps of racing. So they definitely need to think about the longevity of this with 100 laps remaining. They are going to struggle to get to fuel, get the fuel to the end, but also I think they will pit again just on tyres, having pitted about the 3rd stage of the race. So they need to think where they're going to be in the next 40 laps or so, and then they'll think about making that final pit stop.
Yeah, it will be, I think, splitting this one in half, sort of, from the previous caution that we got all the way through to this one. Not the previous one, the one before. Sorry. So, yeah, about that to go in the race. It'll be interesting to see what they did with fuel that time round as well. If I was them, I would have only filled it up with whatever it would be to take you to halfway between then and the end of the race as well, so you can put a bit more fuel in towards the end here as well, and get to the end. You can't make it on fuel yet from any caution that we've had so far, unless you put it under the previous one and you really save. No one will be doing that, though. It's way more advantageous to pit in around halfway through and make it to the end on tyres instead, on newer tyres. We approach 90 to go. Could be settling in for another long green flag run here. The previous long one was 60 laps. We might well have a similar one here.
Yeah, so looking at the stop times from everyone inside the top 10, they were within like a tenth or two of a second. So everyone refueled and you know, changed the tyres the exact same. But the pit lane time, this is the important one. Everyone really is in like the 39s, maybe the low 40s. Ericsson did a 40.7. So he was at least half a second, if not over a second slower, just because he missed that pit box. That shows you how important the fine margins are around here. Although he did end up winning the stage, he still had to work hard for it on that restart, getting Gunnarsson, and then of course working hard for about 5 laps to get past Blixt.
Yeah, it's not something you like a repeat of, really. Yes, Ericsson, it wasn't an ideal last pit stop at all there, and so he'll be hoping for a better one this next time round. It really does stick out, doesn't it, alongside the others he came into pit lane with. Really sticks out as a very long stop. So we will keep an eye on that during the next round of stops, but will there be another round of stops under caution, or will it all happen under green and happen sort of naturally over the course of a long period of time? We'll wait and see, but for now they are a long way away from still thinking about that. Just under 90 to go. I think they might be tempted to come in and take tyres if there was a caution now, but they won't be thinking about a green stop for another 20 laps or so at least yet.
And is Blixt saving a little bit here? Everyone's getting a bit chocker up behind him. Well, I say everyone, the top 4 all get a bit chocker up behind him, which is generally synonymous with the leader of the pack being ever so slightly slow. I mean, it could even just be, you know, a tenth here, tenth there. Doesn't have to be, you know, half a second a lap, but certainly enough that everyone is starting to bunch back up behind. Once again, Solo has dropped off the top 4, so he's definitely saving with his teammate Havlidison as the backup once more. Carbon copy of what we saw in that first race. And there we go. Ericsson goes up the inside. Blixt is not pushing at this moment, and that was definitely a wide door being left open by the 95.
It's a bit weird what's going on between these two at the moment. Ericsson was very eager to take that point away from him in the opening, or the latter part, I should say, of the stage. However, immediately afterwards, he swung wide and let Blixt lead from then on, but stuck right with him, almost suggesting, as you say, that Blixt is saving a little bit because there was a group of drivers stacked up in behind him. Now Ericsson's got back through again, and it looked almost coordinated as if he's teammates with Eric Blixt. So I can't really put my finger on quite what's happening at the moment in the lead of this race. They're exchanging the lead for the moment, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of reason behind it.
Yeah, I guess it's win by the slowest pace, as the older Alan Prost strategy was. We're on to lap 100. Let's see how this continues on, but they're definitely not going at 100% speed. They are playing the long game. They're thinking where they want to be, and they still have that gap to Solo, but it's staying really tight in behind him as well. So they've got Havlidson, Holmer, Uven, even Lepit on the back of that. So it's really the top 9 who they are thinking about, and they are all still in with a contention later on. Oliver Bohlin as well on the back end of that top 10 is somehow got his way into there, but of course he's 7 lap older on tyres, and it is potentially the reason why he's a little bit further off Lepit. You can just see him at the very back of the shot. Yeah,
the top 10 is beginning to stretch apart a little bit, although not too badly so far in this run. We're now about to complete lap 25 of this latest green flag run of the race, by the way, the 4th of the day here at Richmond, and the top 10 separated by 4.7 seconds back to Bohlin, who, as he said, hasn't really gained or lost too much from his experiment earlier on. You get the feeling that his experiment may not be repeated in this next run. I don't imagine he'll be the first one down pit lane next time round, but we will find out. Oscar Mochin, last driver on the lead lap, currently 14 seconds off the lead lap right now, by the way. So the fact that there are so many one lap down means that we're going to catch them a bit later. It's going to be the likes of those a lap down who are going to be lapped again for the leaders to deal with first.
Yeah, that was Motin there, wiggling around quite a bit, as there's various other drivers involved. So, for instance, Helmber in the 77, you got Kinnell in there as well. You got Brostrom also some laps down. That's actually, is that for position? No, it's not, unfortunately. So that is actually position for Brosten try and get back on the lap of Motin, but this is very awkward. Once you get these lap drivers involved, it just becomes a little bit more confusing, because of course they still have the right to be there, but you don't want them really getting involved in the battles of the of others where possible, and especially not the lead battles if and when they catch up to this.
Of course, it's going to be exactly where the others will be worried about where you will be. The others will be worried about if there was more in the field, just what this would have looked like. Remember, there's only 24 in the race here tonight. If we had, I can't remember what numbers we got at Daytona a few weeks ago, but it was upwards of 40, I think. Imagine that round here, somewhere like nearly double what we've got here tonight. Would feel very busy, but at times towards the end of that long green flag run earlier, it felt very busy, and it is going to again later on, because as you say, they are scrapping quite hard back here. Even if it isn't all for position, this is for track position at least. Motin getting really caught up in this is costing him a lot of time, and he's sort of getting involved with those guys one lap down. So when the leaders come up to it, it's going to be pretty difficult. As Janis Lepik continues his run through the field, he makes his way up to 8th place now.
Certainly does so, but Uvenen is trying to change that. Up the inside, he's going to go in towards 3 and 4. Might be able to have that one stuck. They come up high towards each other, squeezing on the exit of 4. They just about give each other enough room, and Lepit is going to struggle to hold on to this. This is going to allow Holmer to get away up ahead, but the competitor continues on through 1 and 2 and around the outside. Lepit's going to go into the wall, and he's just basically dragging himself down the wall. Wasn't able to turn off it. That should give the 84 that position nicely. Just that car length of momentum being lost from the 50, maybe a tiny bit of damage as well, but he's actually got the run off 4 as he comes back down the inside.
Here he goes again. Not quite clear in the way that he was before. Uvenen keeping himself well alongside there, which is exactly what you have to do. And they'll be absolutely levelling towards 3 and 4, but as you were saying earlier, the inside line probably is the better place to be around here. Although, the more that you run up there, the more that the outsider get rubbered in, the more you'll start to see the benefits of that maybe late on with a late run. Unfortunately, there's not quite enough people here today to make it a real difference on the outside, and this time around Lepit is through on the inside line quite easily. Uvenen will not be able to respond, so can he keep it this time, Janis Lepit, in this 8th place with still 73 to go at the end of this one?
Absolutely, and with this point of long green flag runs, we'll take an opportunity to get some words from our partners, and when we're back, we'll be straight through to the end of the Feather Online Gaming 222. And welcome back to the Fella Online Gaming 222. It is lap 119. Jesper Eriksson leads from Eric Blixt as we are into this second stint of the race. We've had a couple of cautions, but we pit some 50 odd laps to go now. So we might be actually pitting in the next 10 to 20 laps, depending on how the drivers want to gamble with when potential cautions are, or if they want to get onto some fresher tyres. We are about a second a lap off the pace now with the tyre drop off. However, the early pit stop did not work out for Oliver Bohlin at the previous pit stop. So it's a bit of a gamble, but let's see how this one works out. The top few are still in with a pretty decent shout, but here's Dan Solo, who's been taking it cautious all day in that 5th position, and he's dropped off a 2.5 to Aronson in 4th.
Absolutely. You say that it is a gamble to pit early, but I think the gamble is very much reduced. While guys like Oliver Bohlin certainly going to be scarred by that earlier experience, the gamble is certainly reduced here. Just to explain that theory for a moment, the gap to the end of the race, currently 62 laps. The drivers have currently done 54. So if you do the maths, that effectively, if you're splitting it halfway, means lap 126 is the magic number. So if you pit now, the gap between you and halfway is 4 laps. When Bohlin pitted, the gap was 25. And the chances were 5 times higher that there was going to be a caution. In the end, there was a caution, so that trapped him a lap down. I think if you kick it off here from the top 10, we've already seen Bratberg and now we've seen Canel in. If you kick it off from the top 10, you're going to have a lot of followers, and I think the gap is vastly reduced, and you could even see some gains out of it.
Potentially. It's all about, staying on that lead lap, though. We're down to 15 cars, and Hockenschott is going to be going a lap down somewhat soon, being 18 laps off the lead as well in a 23-second lap that we are doing now. So it's a tough one on these, shorter circuits, 0.75 miles here today for Richmond, and 184 laps of action. We're on 124, so 60 laps remaining. We've already had the stage that Jesper Eriksson won. He then dropped back behind Blixt, and then Blixt then dropped back behind him. No one wants to lead this race. They want to go as slowly as possible to conserve those tyres, which has been a worry all season. But back at the front, Eriksson now remains there, and he is looking fairly strong, and I think he's been taking it, one step back all day. And I think for either of the Alcantech cars in behind, who, bear in mind, both Blixt and Gunnarsson coming into this race were below the cut line, they could really enjoy a win, whereas Eriksson basically just needs to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it doesn't even need to do that. That's how comfortable he is for the moment. We have reached the magic number as well, by the way, lap 126. So in terms of the last pit stop from these guys and the gap to the end of the race, they've completed 58 of those laps, and they're going to do another 58 now to the end of this race. But one more theory I'll put into the world before it maybe comes to light, or doesn't later on. Can these guys maybe make it the whole way without pitting again here? And if it goes green the whole way, are we going to see somebody at least trying it to the end as Oscar Motin comes in from the tail end of the lead lap? That's the first sign, and maybe something happening that maybe contradicts this. But 117 laps were in the race still when these guys all pitted in a little bit earlier on. The field is supposedly 111. They had a caution to save a few of those laps. There could be some gamblers coming in, and not coming in rather, and staying out maybe the whole way if we go green to the finish.
Oliver Bohlin taking the gamble like he did last time around, and you'd expect that. That's obviously his plan. That's his idea for today, and he is trying to do his best. As Linus Broström there is still in the pit lane, and I wonder if he will get back out at some point. He's been in there for 35 minutes now. Crikey, that is a long pit stop for the Morby Bright Esports. So Oliver Bohlin comes back out as he did in that first stint. He's going to be going a couple of laps down this time, and that is going to be an important number actually, to not even be 1 lap down if there is a caution between now and when these leaders pit. We are into the range of 50 odd laps to go. So we're way less than what they're doing now. As you say, we're over that half distance marker between the caution and the end of the race. So it's really sort of fair game now. They can all definitely, get to the ends, and it's really just a game of cat and mouse of who wants to jump first.
Yeah, and there shouldn't be much fear about coming in here. I'm surprised how much hesitancy there is with the pit stops so far. It's not like you're going to run out of tyres later on either. This is only their second set of 4 that they're using right now. So even if they come in to put on another set right now, it's not going to be too much of a problem. There's still another set left in pit lane if they need them for a late caution as well. it's a little bit bizarre how these guys are waiting around at the moment. Oliver Bohlin is currently the best placed of those drivers who's come into pit lane. He just set his fastest lap of the race, and it was over a second, well over a second quicker than the leaders. Every lap that goes past, every 20 seconds that goes past, Bohlin gets a second closer.
And here he is coming up the inside. So this is to get himself back 1 lap down. He's currently 2. This is to get himself just a further lap behind around the outside of Blix. Don't do what Hafley did at some point early in the race and hit actually Wallen's teammate Brostrom into the wall. That's why Brostrom has been in the pit lane for 35 minutes now. And look at that, just drove around the outside of the Alcantech cars, driving up the inside of Ericsson, who's not going to be battling that one. So definitely showing the pace of these new tyres. And as you say, Ewan, the longer he stays out, the more he gains as well. So it could be use for the leaders there to try and come in.
Unless they want to go the whole way to the end, maybe 50 laps to go. I find that very surprising. If anybody decides they want to go all the way to the end of the race, we know that 2 seconds will be lost after 80 laps. What happens in the next 35? Surely it doesn't get any better. So not really sure why they're waiting so long and what the benefit is, because Wallin's gaining all this on the undercut, and yes, he will start to go away now from his best time last time round. Well, traffic last time round, so let's maybe not look into that too deeply, but just watch the gap between him and his personal best when he when the others come in, if they do, and you'll notice there'll be a couple of attempts a lap quicker, but a couple of attempts a lap quicker over 40 laps or so is almost offset by Bohlin. If he spends 20 laps or so going a second a lap quicker, he'll have gained 20 seconds or so. 2 attempts in 40 laps is only, well, I can't do that maths quite. It's only about 8. So yeah. It doesn't work out. It doesn't work out in the way that you would expect.
Yeah, certainly. A big slide there as he had to keep it down on the mid-track to not go up into, I think that's Lundberg maybe, or Skoglund, one of those teammates. But he is certainly very fast and he is looking very good. What is his lap times currently as he continues on? Yeah, he's about 0.8 of a lap quicker. But the thing is, his relative tyre age obviously is going to remain the same. So he should remain quicker, even though his lap times will get slower. So will the drivers still out there. So hopefully, for his case, he will keep that and be able to bridge the gap. But also, he's going to get a big undercut here. So he was probably somewhere in the region of 6 seconds or so off the lead. And he's already going to have those 6 seconds back by the time the other drivers come out. Although, of course, the longer they stay out, the more gain they will have when they get on their fresher tyres.
We've already dipped below a second a lap, by the way, for Bohlin. It isn't quite true that the relative tyre age will stay the same, because remember, the first 30 laps are a bit steeper than the next 80. So it's worth remembering that he's taking the edge off the tyres right now, and he'll be about as slow as them. If they carry on for another 20 laps or so, 15 laps, he'll be about as slow as them, nearly, than as before, because those first 30 laps, rather, you're really taking the edge off the tyres. So the undercut will still be true and present, but the time in which he's gaining is going to come down, and it already is. He's into the high 22s. The other guys are staying in the mid 23s, especially because they've taken such care of their tyres early on by exchanging the lead and generally trying their hardest not to be winning, which is a bit strange. They have effectively kept their tyres alive, and Wallin's time gains are already down quite significantly here. Let's see the gap. This looked like it was a clean lap, at least, that we can try and mark it against it. Look, was that another 22.9? Consistent, but only 7 tenths a lap quicker now rather than the 1.2 we got only 15 laps ago.
With how quick the laps are here, though, that is going to add up very quickly, indeed into a lot of seconds. And I wonder if there's going to be a stage, if they stay out long enough, where he can then basically drive himself back onto the lead lap after being 2 laps down, or just about 2 laps down. So that would be pretty crazy if he is able to do that. He's got a few more overtakes to do before he gets into a situation where that's really a good possibility, but quite a fun strategic way to get to 40 laps remaining. He's already been on the, the fact that we've been talking about it, he's already been on those laps, 15 laps. On these tyres, 15 laps. So the laps do go by very quickly here, and it's all a bit accelerated with it being so short.
Yeah, remember, that's only just over 5 minutes as well. We haven't been talking about it that long. Don't worry about it. It's just very quick laps around this circuit. Yeah, I think he is in an interesting situation, but if these guys go to the very end of the race, especially considering they've taken such care of their tyres, he's just never going to gain the time back again. Now, he could be in a really good situation a little bit later on, but the chances for that are certainly coming down now, and I think the way this... I always like someone to take a risk like that, but the way this race is going right now, it looks like it might be going away from him and towards these guys who might well just be in this for the long haul and going to the very end of the race. The next 39 laps all on the same set of tyres with that same tank of fuel.
So let's say that they pit in as Joel Bohlin comes down pit lane. Say they pit 15 laps. They've got 25 to go. They're going to be unbelievably fast. So even if he has a 10-second lead, they will easily get through that in the 25 laps.
Yeah.
But then, if there's a caution, they will then all go onto that fourth set of tyres, and Bohlin will have still gained that track position back, and then they'll be on the fresh tyres to the end. So I can understand his idea that it can still work even if there's a further caution. So, yeah, if there's a caution before they pit, though, and these guys remain in that track position, he remains a lap down, doesn't get the back with the lucky dog, then he's, pretty screwed. So it is a bit of a, the risk versus reward sort of situation. But I do think you might be right with these guys trying to stretch it out, because I think they would have pit already.
I would have thought so. That's why I pointed out 126, because that's halfway from when they last pitted to the end of the race. That's sort of the maths I was doing in my head immediately when that caution came out and they made their, so far, only stop in this race. We were talking before we went to air, almost jokingly, that there might only be one stop. I was actually joking, but now it actually might be true that they're just going to make the one stop here this afternoon. Would be very bizarre. But that is a decent theory, what you just outlined there. The problems I can see with it, though, is that there's two fairly big what-ifs, and I'm sure that you and Oliver Bohlin can also see this. He's got to have the leaders stop exactly when he wants them to, about 25 to 30 laps to go. And he's got a caution at the right stage as well. We might get one right now. That was really close.
Oh, I thought they were going around. Managed to save that. So that was a 321 of Wildebar. I didn't quite see the car that was on his inside, but that was certainly very, very close indeed. And that could have been something. Might have been Lundberg, actually. They were battling for P10, I believe. So that was almost a bit of a caution moment, as you were calling. And a caution has come out. Caution has come out for something a bit different. Here's the side-by-side contact on the straight. This did not bring the caution, but about a lap later, someone did.
What went on here? Hackenschott and Kinnell. Hackenschott is all right for now. Outside line. Very, very high here, by the way. Within the very high line. Letting a few through on the inside, and comes in, gets smacked by Bohlin, I think that is. Joel Bohlin, who just came in onto new tyres, is 2 laps down, and this is exactly the problem that Oliver Bohlin had last time out at Dover, if you remember. Came in and smacked someone as he was on new tyres and caused a caution that eventually actually sabotaged his own race. Unfortunately, he's been sabotaged again, this time by someone else.
Yeah, Bohlin there on the fresh tyres, way more grip on the inside line, tried to slide up the inside, but unfortunately didn't keep it down quite enough. And here we go, pit stop time, exactly what we were talking about. And let's see what is going to happen. Is Bohlin actually going to come back in, or is he going to have to wait if there's a potentially another caution later where all drivers go to some fresher tyres? So this is the second pit stop of the day for these drivers. So that's 3 sets of tyres. They all have 1 remaining if there's going to be a green-white checker. Any changes on pit exit? The top 3 look like they're all going to be the same in behind as well. They were a little bit spread out, so I think the order remained the same.
Yeah, only 9 on the lead lap, so the chances for them, because of the amount of lap cars between them and their rivals, the chances for them to actually gain places was very limited there. And the top 9 all stay in the same positions as before. Now, who's going to stay out here to get the wave around back on the lead lap again will be the next thing to work out here. I can see Eric Lundberg was in a position to do so, but he's decided to pit in because he needs to, really. Bohlin and Nuvanen were doing that undercut strategy, so they'll be getting the wave round back onto the lead lap again. Has Lundberg's right there. He is going to be, well, I'm not sure how the race control actually deal with that, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what the rules are when you come out directly side by side with the race leader. He might well be a lap down though. Bohlin and Uvenin will get round though, and that'll be 11 on the lead lap.
Yeah, I'd assume he's going to have to basically wait and go to the back of the line. You'd assume, but we'll see if that works out. 30 laps remaining in the race, and as we come to another caution. We only had one here last year, but it's seemingly like we're getting a few this time around. So that's obviously changing the way the race strategy is formed. All the leaders so far, they've pitted 2 cautions. They've been very, calm in their strategy. They've been playing the long game, waiting for the cautions, which have come at perfect opportunities. Oliver Bohlin is going to be P10 on the back, but once again, he's on way older tyres. Now it's going to be 24 laps. So all that time that he gained for absolutely nothing. And now if we go to the end, he's going to have a very difficult time to hold on to these guys on fresher tyres ahead of him.
Yeah, he certainly is, and starting from 10th place down the back end of the field as well, which is not ideal. Short caution this time around. Maybe we've been babbling on. It's time to go green again.
Certainly, as the Featherline Game 222 gets underway once more. Maybe the final time. Let's see how much more aggressive they go in this final stint. Oh, big slide up the inside there for the 13 of Solo. Finally showing some aggression to try and get past Eracingligan on this restart. Oh, big slide from Eracingligan. So Haflidason is going to get through. Also, Dan Holmer, maybe even Leppit. That's a terrible slide. Unfortunately, going to be losing Eracingligan a lot of places.
Yeah, well, if you're in Eracingligan's situation in the playoffs, you just need to make sure that you don't have a spin and a crash at this stage in the race. You've gotten to this stage still on the lead lap, comfortably inside the top 10. For goodness sake, stay there and don't get involved in an accident. That's what he would have been thinking there as he now makes his way back down the inside and through on Janis Leppit. He'll try and regain some of these places, but for those playoff drivers, there's 6 of them, or 7 rather, who are in the top 9 on the lead lap right now. It's about staying sensible on this run to the end.
Certainly is. Keep yourself in that championship. It's just the first race of the round of 10. Don't leave yourself with a crazy amount to do in the second and final race before we get to that final 5 in the desert in Phoenix in 1 month's time. Certainly an important choice to be made. We got 7 drivers inside the top 10 of being playoff drivers. That is a pretty incredible stat. As we got to Holmbom Brostrom, they are unfortunately basically the 2 final cars in the order after having some crashes earlier on in this race. Here's Wildeboer, who almost spun around and caused a caution, but now is battling at the back.
It's weird, wasn't it, how we come close as we came in about 80 laps to a caution, and then we actually did get one a couple of moments later. After a weird moment for Wildeboer. It does look like he got a bit of damage from that, actually. His car doesn't look quite right on the front to me, and he's still doing a decent job 1 lap down, but he's slightly misshapen on the front end. There he goes down the inside of Bohlin. All of a sudden, looks like he's got old tyres on. It's weird how quickly things can change around a tyre-heavy circuit like this one.
Yeah, of course, you stay out, you gain for 10, 15, or well, 20 laps in the case of Oliver Bohlin, and then then you all of a sudden get swapped around and you have old tyres. Pretty, yeah, I should say pretty incredible and pretty drastic with how the drop-off is around here. It really does hit you very hard, and that is why the leaders were so cautious at the beginning of both of the first 2 stints of the race. We're getting all the lines being used as we come down in towards turn 1, the high, the mid, and the low line. And it doesn't quite work out for any of them as they all remain side by side.
They will. This is all 1 lap down. 3 drivers 1 lap down at the moment, by the way, in the field. Wildeboer, Joel Bohlin and Hakan Schott. Bruin Brostrom, Jonas Skoglund and Antron Bratberg are all 2 down. Pfeffer's on his own before Motin and Kinnell, who are both 4 laps down the back end of the field. If Eric Lundberg stays in pit lane for much longer, then Cedric Holmbom might finally be able to gain a place, but he's still 14 laps down and suffering very much so in the points here today. He is in an almost must-win territory, actually, next time out.
Yes, that level of gain is so difficult to do in the positions, especially this late on the season when the grids are slightly smaller, as we've been mentioning earlier. So a must-win race effectively is going to be good fun. I see actually Linus Brostrom, he's still down pit road as he has been, but he is actually in the race control channel on Discord. He's ready to do the stewarding after the race already, which is a big shame for the 71, who is going to dropped down from second place in the championship. He's been so good all season, but this is going to be a tough second part for the round of 10 in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, it is. I think if you add the stage points in, the maximum he's going to be below the cut line is 15. Now, that is quite a lot, but that's the very maximum. To be fair, considering Hogman's done so well, Blix, Gunnarsson, Solo doing so well, it could be a problem for him. Broström is going to be below the cut line going into the next round, and it's going to be a real shame for him as well, but he's by no means going to be in as much trouble as Cedric Holmbom's going to be in, who does need quite a lot of people to be in here next time out, unless there is, if he's not going to need a win. So, very difficult situations coming up ahead for some of our playoff drivers. And of course, somebody, it looks like, at the front of the race is going to confirm their presence in the final 5 here this evening. Is it going to be Jesper Eriksson, Jonas Gunnarsson, Blix, or Daniel Solo? Maybe Dan Holmer can surprise us from 6th place.
Well, 2nd to 5th is all the Alcantech cars. Hafley once again sitting on the back of them, playing the rear gunner to make sure that they basically confirm themselves. With the spots up towards the front, no reason for him to be in front of his teammates with him not being in the playoffs. But what can Gunnarsson or Blix do to try and get Eriksson? Eriksson's leading by 6/10. To be honest, he's looking very good. He's looking very strong today, but someone needs to find a way to stop him. Hafley was able to last season. He was able to win this race. He was able to win a couple of races in the playoffs. And then, of course, the final as well at Homestead. So he was able to take it to Eriksson at the crucial point in the season. But now someone like Gunnarsson or Blix needs to stand up and do the same if he wants to win this championship.
I think since you pointed out Ferguson's presence in 5th place there, you're probably right that it's going to be one of the top 5, one of the top 4 rather, who are going to take the win here. Based on the defending we've seen on behalf of other teammates from Michael Ferguson so far, it's going to be very hard for Holmer or Eriksson to get past. So who out of these guys is going to have the chance to get the win? I think so far Blix has given Jesper Eriksson the most to think about, but Jonas Gunnarsson is in 2nd right now. Do the team sort of order a switch there to let Blix get in line and try and come through on Eriksson, or do they leave them how they are to race how they are? Looks like they are going to leave them there, but if Blix had restarted from 2nd place, or at least it got underway in this run from 2nd place, he might have been able to stay close to Eriksson. Maybe nobody could have stayed with Jesper Eriksson because he just looked quick once again.
Yeah, in this stint, it's so short compared to the others that there's no real saving that they're going to need to do, and therefore the full pace comes out, and maybe Eriksson does have that 10th here, 10th there, although he wasn't on the pole position. He was on the 3rd row of the grid, so maybe qualifying not so much what he would have wanted. However, when it comes to race pace, it looks like he's had the control of it all race. He's been able to hold off from Blix. The amount of times that Blix was able to come to the front, but then Eriksson gets back there. He certainly looks strong. The cost Solo is once again dropping off though from his 2 teammates, and there's no saving required. So maybe he's just missing that half a tenth a lap that he would have wanted.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe the fact that Ferguson's been behind him all day has saved him rather from a bigger dent into points here today, because he has run 4th all day. I thought there was some sort of master plan behind it. It does look like maybe there wasn't. And you said it actually at the stage earlier on, nearly 100 laps ago now. Eriksson got to the front of Blix and took the stage, and then immediately pulled over. And you said, well, the pace was just borne out there for about 10 laps or so. Looks like it is again here. And on short runs, Eriksson does look like he's the quickest by quite some distance here. This can be counted as a short run, I think, towards the end of the race as well. Just under 30 laps. That's going to get knocked off in just over 10 minutes around this circuit, so we can definitely count that as a short run. And it does look like, especially over that distance, Eriksson's got the speed, and none of the others have. Maybe I should have read more into that from the stage break. It was almost a preview into this final run with hindsight.
Yes, that is very true. It's funny how the stints, change quite a bit sometimes, but sometimes they're basically just carbon copies, and you do a pit stop and you go out once more. We are lap 177 of 184. It's been stable for the last 10-15 laps or so, as the drivers have found themselves into their rhythm. since this final pit stop. Well, what I'm assuming is it's a final pit stop. You never know. If we get a quick caution at the end, some drivers might want to take a new set of tyres. One thing that we haven't actually noticed yet, or haven't mentioned, is Oscar Fredriksson, currently 5th place, just above the cut line for the final 5, is not actually attending this race. So that is going to change that playoff standings quite a bit, scoring in nil points here today. So that is going to be very, very interesting, and maybe just the break someone like Linus Broström needs when we get to that next race and he's, chasing those points. That's one driver potentially out of the way.
Yeah, so I think there's going to be 3 drivers at the end of today who are quite significantly sunk to the bottom compared to the rest. Cedric Holm's going to be last. Fredriksson's going to be next. Broström's going to be ahead of those, but not that close to the cut-off. Well, it's going to be quite close, but not, it's not going to be a point or two, I wouldn't say. The other 7 have got all in the top 10, which is doing exactly what I said earlier on. Stay on the lead lap, stay up towards the front, and you'll keep yourself in the game. And now, in 2 weeks' time, you can really start thinking about being a bit more aggressive. But this is the real banana skin out the 2 of the races, I feel. And these 2 are about to slip over it. Dear me, 4 laps to go. Holmer and Ericsson scrapping over a single point at the end.
Yeah, this could be so crucial as the playoff drivers are battling it out. As you say, a couple of laps remaining, but now it's going to be the 79 trying to get through as the 24's worked his way up into that 6th place. Too far ahead to catch Haflidsson, and Leppert has been dropped behind. So this is what they need to focus on with just 1.5 miles remaining in this race.
It looks like Ericsson's got more speed. It's just that restart that's really undone him here this afternoon, unfortunately. Went backwards, he went high through turn 2, and that put him down towards the bottom end of the top 10. He got past Leppert pretty quickly. It's taken him some long time to get past Dan Holmer as well at the end of all this. And, he might have had a bit more from today if he'd have had a better restart on this one. Now then, lap traffic late on. Jesper Ericsson's going to be under real pressure here as the white flag's being readied.
Yeah, 1.5 laps remaining in the Feather Online Gaming 222. It's white flag time. The 37 leads us across the line. Gunnarsson, unfortunately, just a little bit behind 6/10. He would have wanted to be closer with this lap traffic getting involved. The Alcantet boys, they are coming on this final lap. There's Holmbom, who's had a dreadful day with his sister teammate Ericsson, is going to be sliding through, I'm sure. As we come in through the final couple of corners, it's been a masterclass from Ericsson as he won the first race of round of 15, and he wins the first race of the round of 10 as well. He slides across the line in celebration as he wins the Feather Online Gaming 222 here from Richmond, locks himself into the final 5, and that is certainly the race he would have wanted. He had the race pace all day to hold off from the Alcantech cars, who will come 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, but not enough to get the victory today.
That is absolutely how to do it. Jesper Ericsson with the full number of points, at least from finishing positions here, both at the stage and at the finish line as well. 39 points above the cut line coming into today. Didn't need this particularly, but he's taken the win for himself. He's locked himself into the final 5, and perhaps cynically as well, he has taken some points away from some of those others in the field who really needed it more than he did. He has locked himself in. It's a stress-free Michigan for him in 2 weeks' time. He's going to let this go on 1 week longer for every single Alcantech driver who surely would have been there to pick up the pieces as well had he slipped up, but he's taken the win, and he will be there in Phoenix.
And Alcantech would have loved to have locked a driver already into the final 5, but they're going to have to wait a little bit longer and potentially win the next race at coming into the round of 10, where you sort of have the final point up for grabs, but maybe they can do it on positions as well. So it's Jesper Ericsson taking the win, Gunnarsson alongside him, and Eric Blixt on the podium, and they had a little bit of a gap to their teammates of Solo and Haflidsson, who basically did 184 laps of following Solo into that 4th position. Aronson will be in 6th place at the end, with Holmer, Leppert, Hogman and Oliver Bohlin at the end, still getting a top 10, but with a very interesting strategy. Maybe it would have worked out had we gone green to the end of the race. Vudaba, Wallen, Uvenham, A Shot, Brostrom, Skoglund, Bratberg, Pfeffer, Motin, Kinnell round out your top 20. And then we have Helmbro, Holmbom, and then the unfortunate DNS, of course, with Lundberg and Brostrom finishing all the way down there. Big shame for Brostrom and Holmbom as well. 2 playoff drivers losing out massively. That is going to be a big points deficit for those drivers to try and get back through. Of course, we go to Michigan in a couple of weeks' time, which is a bit of a carbon copy of Auto Club where we started the season, and it is the exact same amount of laps as well, 109 each. It's going to be good fun to try and find what is going to happen there. Let's try and get a word with a couple of these drivers on the podium, and we'll first bring in Jesper Eriksson, the number 37, taking yet another victory this season. And once again, Eriksson, you won the first race of round of 15, and now you've won the first race of the round of 10. How are you feeling after that one?
I'm feeling amazing. That was one heck of a win. Pretty much just control the race from the front. Sometimes I went down to P2, but it was one heck of a race. And yeah, I'm happy. Hopefully I can win the first and only race of the round of the final.
That would certainly be a good one, of course, missing out on that last season. But for today, you, especially when we came to the stage, so we had the caution not long before the stage, you then came out super hard because you dropped back due to the slow pit stop. You then had to get past Gunnarsson in the restart. You put so much effort to get past Blixt, but then after the stage, you then dropped back. Was that just a bit of tactics to save? It was a bit of an interesting one.
Yes, that was definitely some fuel-saving tactics, because we figured out that if you just save just a tiny bit of fuel, we could make it to the end. So I think everyone was saving, and then when I got a run on Eric, I was like, yeah, let's send it. Tire's going to be worn. It's going to be super hard to pass in the later stages. So I just want track position and the best strategy for us. And it worked perfectly.
Yes, certainly did. So was it always, actually coming into the race in that first stint before we had the cautions and everything, were you really planning to just go as long as possible with the fuel tank being so long here? For me, not. I came into the race, but maybe a few two-stopper, and then one of our drivers, Cedric, said during the middle of the race, or like 10 or 20 laps in, this is going to be a one-stop race. And I was like, yeah, okay, Cedric, you're smart. This is going to be a one-stop. So it was, thank you, Cedric. Well, just calm down, save tires, save fuel, and trying to pick the best lap for us to pit. But in the end, we didn't need to think about that because of the caution. Absolutely. So obviously we then had the caution. You had the battle with Eric, which, by the way, actually, I should ask you about that one. Just before the stage, obviously you had that huge battle with him. You're going side by side for like 10 laps in a row. How is it racing around here? Because sort of every lap you get like 1 inch further ahead, and then eventually you can, pull in front.
It's not difficult to race on this track. It's difficult to pass, because the outside line is the preferred lane to pass due to the exit speed, but the inside line is the more dominant because you can just wash up high and pretty impossible to pass. So it's hard to race fairly, you can say that, I guess.
Yeah, certainly a very fun race out there today. So congratulations on your victory, and of course the stage win as well, so taking a heap of points as we lock you in to the final 5. Congratulations.
Thanks, boys.
And then next we will bring in Jonas Gunnarsson of the number 33. You look so strong out there, Jonas, today. Did you have anything that you could have done to try and chase down Jesper in hindsight?
No, I think not. I really tried there at after the last caution, but I had nothing on the short run on him. Not even on the long run, to be honest. Maybe in the mid-run there, I got a little close, but no, it was too fast for me today.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking of the strategies today, of course, it was sort of an idea if it was going to be the 1 or the 2 stop, obviously depending on when the cautions came out. But after that first caution and the stage, was your aim to try and stretch it to the end? It looked like everyone was sort of saving.
Yeah, I was. I had a lot more fuel than the other guys in the team, so I was hoping for it to go green till the end. I didn't need to save anything from that point on. So Yeah, too bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And coming into the next race in Michigan, obviously you're not locked in on the points. It's very close between everyone. Obviously, it's a bit more of a track. Maybe we can try and have some teammates help you. I mean, you've got all your Alcantech cars right behind you, your teammates. What can you do to try and lock yourself into the final 5? I mean, obviously, you got to aim for the win, but if not, how can you make sure you're 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th again?
Yeah, it's Michigan. I never have a good race there, but I know Eric and Daniel are really fast there, so I'm just gonna try and follow them and see where that takes me.
Yeah, absolutely. But congratulations on your race today. Once again, very strong in that 33. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thank you.
And then lastly, we'll bring in Eric Blix of the number 95 Alcantech machine. Looking very fast today, Eric. Unfortunately, P3 in the end. Your car was probably deserving of a win today in terms of speed.
Yeah, I was kind of sleeping on the last restart, to be honest. I didn't put myself in the best spot, even though it's really hard to start on the outside. You don't want to get a penalty there close to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk us a bit earlier through the race. Of course, you led at points, but especially how was that battle with Jesper coming off the caution just before the stage? You went side by side for a long time. How was that from your point of view?
I mean, I had a preferred line to save the tires, I think. Yeah, I was just trying to make Jesper work for it, hopefully wear down his tires a little bit. But he managed to actually keep his tires very nicely this time. I was hoping he would burn them up in the really long runs. And I felt like if we would have gone green to the end, maybe I would have had enough to, I don't know, make a bump and run in the end at least.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Actually, how were you feeling on that long run in that middle point of the race where we were thinking maybe everyone's going to try and get to the end? Do you think you would have had plenty of tires? Well, obviously the fuel as well.
Well, I realized halfway through the stint that I was not fine on fuel, so I just had to start fuel saving in the middle of it. But it kind of also helped the tire temps to drop a little bit and probably kept them pretty good towards the end. I felt good about them, actually. Way better than the first stint.
Absolutely. And how are you feeling going into Michigan? Of course, a win it would be preferred. So, yeah. What can you do differently, maybe in your preparation, or is it just all about the execution today?
It's probably just getting lucky. I mean, I got the quali today, but Michigan. I mean, you have to be lucky with the draft, not getting squashed on the outside out of 2. Something like that could happen as well.
Yeah, certainly going to be an interesting race. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time, and hopefully we'll also see you in the final 5. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
And that concludes the interviews for today here from Richmond. What an interesting race that was. 184 laps of action, the Feather Online Gaming 222. But in the end, it was Jesper Eriksson once more locking himself into the final 5. We had big issues for people like Holmbaum and Brostrom, who've got a lot of work to do. Fredriksson as well, not showing up. All 3 of those basically need to win in the next race. It's going to be an interesting one. So join us in a couple of weeks' time where we go to Michigan for the final race of the round of 10. And we will lose 5 drivers more and remain just 5 drivers in the championship hunt. That is on the 24th of April. Next week, though, we go to back to the road course and the GT3 action, which is heating up. Just a couple of rounds to go as well. You know, that big battle with Beifeld and Lingqvist is going to be so exciting. So join us there, same time, same place, 8 p.m. European time here on RaceSpotTV. And it's been myself, Cam Roger, Yona Lurie alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production. And until then, we will see you next time.